So if you have a break, that's a long break. So, sit comfortably. When Tom comes in, we'll just nod. So just close your eyes, and again, you know, sit on a blanket if that feels better for your hips. Get comfortable in how you're sitting. And just for a second, bring your left hand up to your chest and your right hand down around your navel there. And just see if you can reach up through the top of your head a little bit. And then just breathe and let your hands just softly kind of give you a little connection there. Feeling the breath coming into the belly. And if you like to come into those 3-part breaths, do. Let your hands gently come to meet in front of your chest. Letting your fingers connect now, your thumbs, whatever part of your palms touch. And let's inhale the hands right on up through the midline. You don't have to go very high, it depends on how your shoulders feel. And when you exhale, let your hands come right back down. So just moving the hands up and down with your breath, waking up your shoulders. Next time that your hands come down to be in front of your chest, unfold your arms here now and let your hands circle around in one direction. Just waking up the wrists a little bit and then reverse and go the other. And then let's come on forward into a little seated forward bend. Whatever you need to do here with your legs, do it. You can have them stretched out long instead of cross-legged. Hands can be there to support you. You can walk further out if you choose. So take your time, let yourself release into your seated forward bend here. One more breath. And then we'll slowly make our way on back up, and let's let our hands come on out beside us onto the floor here. And we'll inhale both arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms beside us. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, twist to our right. So bring your left hand maybe around to your right knee. It depends on you how far you go. Lengthening up through the top of your head. Feeling your sitting bones reaching down. One more inhale. And on your exhale, come on back around through center and all the way around into the other direction. So again, let yourself enjoy feeling that twist there in the middle of the back. Feeling your sitting bones drawing down, chin parallel to the floor. One more inhale. And on the exhale, let yourself come on back around into center. Let's do a little seated cat pose here. So as you exhale, draw your navel towards your spine. Let yourself round into your back a little bit. And when you inhale, send your sit bones down and just roll back up through your spine until you get nice and tall. So again, exhaling, drawing your navel towards your spine, rounding into your back a little bit. And when you inhale, roll on back up again. And we'll go one more time. Exhaling, navel towards the spine. Really feel your tailbone curling forward too. And then when you inhale, come on back up to the top. And let's switch the cross of our legs. So take your time. If you know you can't switch or you prefer to stretch your legs out, do. And then from here, we'll come on forward again. So take your time coming into a seated forward bend. Hands can support you. You can release farther forward if you choose. See if you can just feel the weight of your head, letting your head hang a little bit. Just be really mindful. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly make our way on back up. And now bring your hands on out beside you here now. And I'm going to mirror right now. Let's take our right hand and bring the right arm behind you. Kind of fold your arm down there, right? And then see if you can reach over with your left hand and hold as close to your elbow as you can get. So you're here, kind of trying to hold your elbow in a little bit. If that's comfortable, you don't have to hold that close to the elbow, right? That's up to you, how it feels. We're then going to tilt our head to the right. So let yourself release the head to the right. And just release through that left side of your neck. Just breathing into that side a little bit. And now very slowly start to turn your chin down towards the floor. So you're just releasing to look down towards the mat. And then slowly start to turn your face back forward. And then, if possible, see if you can turn to look up. If that bothers you in any way, don't do it. But if you can look up towards the ceiling, do drawing that left shoulder a little more up. And then we'll rise slowly back up to the top here now. Take your time, lengthen up. And then just switch hands. So now your right hand comes over. You work your way towards your elbow. So you're kind of pulling this arm as far over as you can a little bit there. And then tilt your head. Left ear towards the left shoulder. Feeling that release through the right side of the neck. And now it's kind of slow motion to turn yourself, starting to turn to look down towards the floor. Just being mindful. And you kind of know when you get to a spot you want to stay in, where you can just release and breathe. And if you don't really feel that much going on, still just let yourself breathe there. Feel the weight of your head. And then as you start to turn slowly your gaze back forward, again, this looking up is up to you. If you can look up towards the ceiling, do. Let yourself feel that release. And then we'll slowly rise on back up again. And let your arms come on behind you now, onto your fingertips or flat onto your hands if you want to. And then let yourself just release, drawing the chest forward and the shoulders back a little bit, coming into opening through the front of the body. Good, and then come on back up to the top. Hands out beside us here now. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And we'll unfold our arms on down beside us here now. We're going to come on around towards our hands and knees. So you know if you don't want to be on your knees, don't be. I mean, you can put a blanket under them. You can get out of your hands by coming to your fists, or you can grab your blocks, get out of your hands by coming down onto your forearms, right? So just be mindful, letting yourself start to flow through your cat-cows. Whether you need to take that wrist crease out or you're fine to be on hands and knees. Let yourself move through the spine easily. Now don't do this if it bothers your knees, but if you can tuck your toes under and let yourself keep moving through your cat-cow do. Now it does put a different pressure into your kneecaps, so don't do it if it hurts. Let yourself move through how you can. Good. And then finish off the one you're on or that you're moving into. And let's come on back to more neutral spine and send our right foot behind us on the floor here now. Curl your toes under, press into your heel. If you can lift your left knee up, you can even pick the foot up if you want to go a little more into your hands and your arms. Or you can keep the foot down if you want to stretch out your foot a little more. And then we'll come on back down so that we can switch legs. So stretching that left leg back, and at first get into the calf there, engage your belly. And if you want to lift the knee up, right knee up, you can, or even the foot if you want to add the foot as well, or you can push into the top of the right toes if you want to stretch out your foot more. And then we'll bring the knee down if it was up, bring both knees in. We're going to shift back towards Child's Pose. So let yourself release on back. Now, if you're comfortable to bend your elbows and let your hands rest on your upper back, you can stretch out your triceps that way. Let yourself release, chest down towards the ground. If this bothers you, don't do it. You can keep your arms wherever's comfortable. Breathing into the low back. And then stretch your arms long, and let's walk our hands over to the right and come on into left side stretch there. So as far as you want to go, see if you can let your head release. Breathing into that left side body. And then we'll walk back through center, and we're going to go to the other side with the hands. So coming over as far as you want to go. See if you can let your head either release to the floor or at least let it hang if you're up higher. And just enjoy letting that breath come into the right side of the body. And then we'll come on back into center. Bringing the arms out overhead and long here now. And then let's come on back to hands and knees. Step our left foot forward. Keep your right knee down just for a second. You can grab your blocks if you'd like. Shift your hips forward just a little bit. Let yourself enjoy pressing into the top of the right toes there. And then we are going to curl our toes under and lift the knee up. So adjusting to do that, letting yourself come on up with that back knee. Finding your lunge there. Take your time. Enjoy. Engage the belly, find the length through the back body. Good. And then we're going to switch legs, but as you bring that left leg back, go ahead and lower the knee down once you get your right foot forward there. And go ahead and shift a little bit forward with your hips, pressing into the top of the toes there. Enjoy opening through the front of that left hip there. And now to lift up, as you curl your toes under and you start to lift up, adjust to get your support how you need under your hands there. Press the feet gently away from each other. Feel the belly engaging, the low back, the hips. And we will step forward from here and come on into standing forward bend, feet hips distance apart and parallel. Take your time, be mindful. Let your knees bend if you need. Walk a little bit if you want to. Bend one knee at a time. Let your head maybe even move around, nodding or shaking your head a little bit. Let it feel good. Just kind of let your body adjust however it needs. And then when you're ready to come into just following your breath in and out, use whatever support you need under your hands, or elbows above the knees if that feels better to support your low back. Just watch your breath now, coming in and going out. We bring our hands now on up to our hips. We're going to press into our feet and slowly rise up to standing. Really feel your feet in the floor. Let your arms release on down, and then float your arms just a little bit away from you. Turn your palms forward. Let your shoulders melt down. Reach down through your fingertips. And then inhale your arms all the way up into a wide V. So really feeling that sense of reaching all the way out through the tips of your fingers. But you feel your shoulders really melted down away from your ears. Now you can look up if it feels good to you to bring your gaze up and feel a little bit lift there. Just make sure you're not tensing up your neck. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees and come on forward into our standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Spreading those fingers nice and wide now. Go ahead and glance at your hands. Make sure you're fairly even. You don't want one hand turned out a lot more than the other. Point your fingers about parallel to each other. Easily reaching back then through your sitting bones. Feeling equal through the sides of your body. So from your hands all the way up through your arms, your shoulders, through the sides of the body, even into your hips, you feel very even. And then we'll come on out to plank. Nice and strong plank. Really feeling the belly. Reaching your sitting bones down towards your heels. And then we'll lower down. So you know if you'd rather put your knees down first, do. Elbows right by the ribs. And let's come on into a Sphinch Pose. Letting yourself come onto your elbows, right under your shoulders. Bringing your gaze there between your hands. Just enjoy a little bit of engagement in the belly. Good. From there, just bend your right knee. Let your right foot come up like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. So feel a little bit more engagement there. Keep feeling the forearms on the floor. And then we'll bring that foot down and we'll go to the left. So bending the left knee, imagine you're just putting a footprint on the ceiling. You're not trying to pull it in towards your buttocks, in other words. Good. And then lower that foot on back down. Let's come on all the way back down to the mat and we'll come back to down dog, however we choose to get there. Half or full push-up, depending on you, through your hands and knees if you want. And we'll bring our right foot on forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Let yourself find where you're comfortable to be, right? If you need to bring your hands up to some blocks or onto elbows above the knees for support, or maybe you like to hold your elbows and hang, bring your hands behind your legs. That's good. And just breathe. In fact, just accept your breaths in and out, bringing your awareness to them. Actually, usually your breaths want to even out on their own, so you don't have to force anything. Just see if you can accept your inhales and your exhales. Let your face soften. Let go through your jaw. And then we'll let our hands rise on up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and come on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's release our arms beside us. Inhale your arms out into a T position. Palms are down. Arms are straight out from your shoulders. And then bend your knees, send your hips back, and come forward to a flat back where you're parallel to the floor. You're still reaching out through your arms like airplane wings. You're very nice and flat here through the back. And then from there, bring your hands to your heart, coming into prayer hands there. And let's twist to our left. You can always put your right elbow there on your left knee if you want. If you're up higher, that's fine. And then come on back into center, and we'll go to the other side. So if you're low enough to put your elbow on your knee, you can. And if not, don't do it. And then come on back into center. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward again into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen out your spine. And we're going to step our left foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Good. So walk your dog a little bit. Just be mindful of allowing yourself to feel the backs of your legs one leg at a time. So give yourself time on each leg. And then Come on back into your full dog here, and let your next inhale bring you to your plank. And again, we're going to lower down so you can put your knees down first if you need. Elbows right by the ribs. And we'll come into a little cobra here. Now, if you want to go higher, do. If you'd like to stay low, stay low. If you want to press into your hands and come up higher, do. Good, and then we're going to come on back to down dog. You can come down to the floor. You can come right from that cobra if you choose, back into your downward facing dog pose. And we'll bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend. Easy breaths. Feel your feet in the floor here now. And then press into your feet as you bring your hands to your hips and rise on up to standing. And inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on your exhale, let your hands come down together in front of your heart. Find your mountain pose here for breath. We are going to move with the breath now, so really let the breath help you just flow through the next couple of sun salutations. As you unfold your arms beside you, and inhale the arms out and up overhead, and let your exhale bring you forward. Inhale into that nice long back. Exhale, right foot back into lunge. And inhale, exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Let your inhale bring you to your plank, and your exhale will lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice, exhaling back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge, and inhale. Exhale into standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward from the hips again. Let your inhale lengthen you into that flat back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your down dog. Let your inhale bring you to plank. Your exhale lower you down. And inhale again into that cobra choice. Exhaling back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top of the breath. And letting your exhale bring you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come into down dog, however you want to get there. So you can jump, you can walk your way back. Take your time. Do whatever feels good in your dog. If you want to walk, if you want to let your feet lift up, work through your feet a little bit. Just play. Put your hands on the floor. Reach back equally through your sitting bones. Good. And we're going to bring the left foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two. Have your blocks handy here in case you need them. And we'll come on into lining up those heels. Lining up that front knee. Let yourself from here, bring your arms on out, and then let your right arm come under your left. Give yourself a hug and let the elbows melt down. If you want to head towards eagle wrap, by all means do. Totally up to you, you know that. Let yourself feel really released there in your shoulders. Feel that sense of the shoulders releasing down away from your ears. Good, and then unwind your arms and let them come straight on out from your shoulders here. Unfold them on out into your warrior two arms. Reaching out through your fingertips, feel the feet in the floor. Let the shoulders soften down. Enjoy that really strong warrior two pose. Good. And then we're going to straighten our front knee out and let our left hand come down for triangle. So you can bring your hand down to a block. You know that. You can use your leg. Let yourself take your time. Once you get your hand down, if you can start to turn to look towards the long edge of your mat, do. Keep that right hand up unless you know your shoulder bothers you. Put the hand down on your hip. Let yourself feel the thighs engaging up towards the hips. Good. One more breath here. And then we're going to bend that left knee. We're going to come on back into warrior two, pressing those feet away from each other as we come. Again, soften the shoulders down, reach out through your fingertips. Let's bring our hands down and turn our feet more parallel. We're going to come on into a wide-legged forward bend, so grab your blocks if you know you like your blocks. Bring yourself on forward, hands to blocks or the floor, and go ahead and start to bend a knee at a time so that you're really easily letting a knee bend at a time and enjoying finding the inner thigh of that long leg. And once you've evened out between your legs there, come back into center and then turn your toes out a little bit and do that same thing. Bend one knee at a time. At first, start with your feet staying flat on the floor. So you bend the knee out over the center of the foot. And if you want to go deeper, then you can start to come to the heel of that long leg. So you lift your toes up and you let the toes come up towards the ceiling. And of course, if you like to drop down with your hips, you can put your hands there to support you and let yourself go back with your hips and down so that you come even deeper. That's up to you. Totally up to you whether you do those. And once you're done with those, come on back into center, let your feet become more parallel again. And then take your time, set yourself up. If you need blocks underneath your head or your forearms, by all means use them. If you feel good to go ahead and bring your hands back towards between your feet. You know, or if you feel good to hold your front of your ankles today, like the tops of your feet where you actually almost press your forearms into your shins to support your back a little. Then maybe you can hang there. Experiment, in other words. Find the place that feels best today. And then just breathe. Watch those breaths in and out. One more nice deep full breath all the way in and all the way out. And then we're going to walk our hands out so we can walk back to our left foot. We're going to come on back into lunge. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose from there. Walk your dog a little bit. Walk to the tops of the toes. Go ahead and press into your tops of your toes or toenails 1 foot at a time. Really getting into the feet, releasing a little bit there. Good. And then come on back into your full down dog. Hug your elbows towards each other. And then come on out to your plank. Now, it's up to you if you want to add a back bend or not and how you do it. You can come to chaturanga. You might decide you want to come right on through and down into your up dog. Totally up to you. If you don't want to do a back bend, don't. And then make your way back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, see if you can inhale your heels way up high. And when you exhale, let them release back down towards the ground. So the inhales, rise your heels up. The exhales, lower them down. Good. One more time with that. And then come on back. And from here, we're going to bring our right foot forward. And we're going to come on up into Warrior Two on the other side. So again, take your time. Get yourself with your heels lined up there. Really allow yourself to find the length of stance for your Warrior Two that feels good. And then let the arms float up. Left arm is going to come under the right for that hug. Again, you can hold up. You know that. You can hold up like over the tops of your shoulders or down towards your armpits and kind of release your shoulders down. If you like to come into the eagle wrap, then by all means do, or you can stay hugging. Whatever feels the best in your shoulders, remember. And just be mindful. Let your shoulders melt down. See if you can maybe just let your head turn one way and then the other. So you're trying to keep your chin fairly parallel to the floor. And you're just looking one way and then the other. And then come back into center with your head. And then we're just going to release that eagle arm wrap there and extend our arms straight on out from the shoulders here. A little bit higher with the hands, shoulders melting down. Feel the feet in the floor. Imagine you're lengthening your mat with your feet, so now you're really feeling your hips. Make sure you're not tucking your tailbone under you. Reach the tailbone down. Good. And then from here, we're going to straighten that right knee out and bring that right hand down for triangle. So again, if you like to use a block, any height, remember that block can be in front of or behind your right leg there. Extend your torso out. If you can bring your gaze on out to the long edge of the mat, do so that you're feeling those thighs lengthen, lifting upward, creating space in your knees. Take your time. If you like to move your head around, turn to look up here, you can, you know that. You can stay looking down at the floor if that involves a better feeling in your neck to do that. By all means do. Don't force anything, just let it feel good. Find those 3 points of your triangle, the 2 feet, the top hand. One more breath. And then we're going to bend that front knee. We're going to come on back into Warrior 2, pressing those feet away from each other. Getting right back into the core strength of the body there. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to turn our feet more parallel, and we're going to make our way forward. So again, get your blocks if you want them. Take your time. Once you get your hands down here now, whether you're using blocks or hands on the floor, see if you can walk out, kind of like you're doing a down dog. But let your hands be wider apart. Get your pointer fingers pretty parallel to each other. You're kind of towards the outside of your shoulders. Then hug your elbows in towards each other. Let your chest melt down towards the ground. And just, you can have your knees bent here or you can have your legs straight. That's up to you. But feel that length through the spine, but that full release there in the upper back between the shoulder blades. Good. One more breath. And then walking your hands on back. Let's walk the hands over or on your blocks over towards the right foot, however far you want to go. Bring your right hand on up to your right hip and roll that shoulder up if you want to add that bit of a twist at the end. You don't need to add that unless it feels good. And then come on back down. We're going to walk back through center, and we're going to go to the other side. So again, once you make it over to as far as you want to go to the left, let your left hand come up, and you can stay right there. You can roll the shoulder up if you want, thinking of coming into that bit of a twist. And then bring that left hand back down, and let's walk on back into center. Go ahead and adjust however you need to set up to stay in your pose. So, if you want to stack blocks up because it feels great to either support your forearms or your head, do it. And then just be with your breath again. Accepting those full deep breaths in and out. Think about even relaxing your throat. Letting your face soften. Nice. And then we're going to walk our hands on back out. We're going to walk back to our right foot. Come on back into lunge. And we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Good. And you're on your own now. If you want to do vinyasas or kriyas, go for it. Take your time. If you don't do them. Put your knees down if you'd rather. Do what your body is kind of wanting to do today. You may decide you want to move really slowly. You may want to move quickly. You may want to just rest in child's pose. Be aware of your shoulders, your hips. Good. And let's meet back in down dog from here. So take your time to come on back into dog. And now we're going to bring our left foot forward and come into lunge. So once you do, you might want to get your blocks. Find your lunge for a second there. And then we're going to come into pyramid. We're going to draw that right foot so that you can lower your heel on down and turn that foot out 20 to 30 degrees. What height you are with your hands is totally up to you as you come into your pyramid. Feel the thighs engaging up towards the hips. Feel that sense of lengthening through your spine here. So really work on that length out through the top of your head, that flat back, right? And if you're like, I got to come up higher to do that, then come up higher. Totally up to you. Let yourself just really come into finding where you can be there. Good. Lengthening out through your spine. Now let's add the twist of bringing the left hand up to the left hip and rolling that shoulder up. Now if any of you are feeling really like, I haven't tried my hand going to the outside of my left foot for a long time, you're more than welcome to do that if you feel good to do that, right? If not, stay with your hand on that same block to the inside of your foot. And I know some of you like to stretch that top arm up into this revolved triangle pose, but that is totally up to you too. One more breath. And then we're going to release the hand back down. Now if you want to fold over your leg, go for it. So if it feels good to you to go ahead and release over your leg, you can fold yourself out over that leg. One more breath. And then come up enough to find your lunge again. We're going to bend the front knee. Let yourself come into that lunge. And if you need a blanket, you can put it under your right knee because we're going to lower that right knee down onto the mat. And shift our hips forward. And take your time here. You may want to stay right there with your blocks under your hands. You may not want to go that far forward with your hips. That's up to you. Some of you I know like to bring your hands up so that you have either your forearm on your thigh or your hands on your front thigh there. You can support yourself there and allow this openness to happen for the front of your right hip. Or maybe you want to reach your right arm up, keep your left hand down, or some of you may want to bring both arms up. So that's totally up to you. Just be really mindful. Take your time. Keep your hands down if you need, or if it starts to be too much, bring them back down. One more breath. And then we're going to bring the arms on, hands on down, and we're going to lift the back knee up to come back into lunge. And we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. So again, you're on your own. Do what feels good. Stay in dog if you'd rather. Move through for some vinyasas or kriyas if you want. Just let yourself be mindful of your shoulders. If you want to open your hips, you can lift legs up in the air, do what feels right. And then when we come on back into down dog, really find your dog. Feel your elbows hugging inward, reach back through your sitting bones. And this time we'll bring the right foot forward and we're coming into lunge. Again, as you find your lunge, if you know you like your blocks for your pyramid, you can bring blocks under your hands. And then adjusting up into that pyramid. So as you straighten both legs out and lower that back heel down. Get yourself there into that nice flat back. Hips are as level as can be. Take your time to feel the backs of your legs, which of course doesn't take very long to feel that, but let your thighs engage upward so you're protecting and you're using all the muscles around your knees and protecting your knees. So one more breath before we add that little twist. So when you're ready to bring the right hand up to your hip, if you prefer to reach across with your left hand first, so you go to the outside of that right foot, you can. It's a huge balance difference, isn't it? So if you try it and you're like, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm doing that, go back to being under the block under your left hand. And then you can stay with your hand down, you know that, and you can kind of check the levelness there of your sacrum. You can reach that right arm up if you want. If If you're like, no, my shoulder is happier here with the hand down, stay down. Good. And then release to come on back down with your hand all the way down. And now if you get it again, if you like to fold over your front leg, do. Now let yourself release to where it feels good. And if that doesn't feel good, keep your back long. Good. And then come up enough so that we can, from here, bend that front knee, find your lunge. And again, you know, if you need that blanket before you lower that left knee down, you can bring a blanket underneath your knee and press into the top of the left toes. You're feeling that openness through the front of your hip. And you can use your blocks to come up a little higher. If that's better for you, you can do that and stay there. Again, you might want to put your forearm on that front thigh, or your hands might press in to get your shoulders a little bit more above your hips if you want to go up a little more. And then, of course, you can add an arm or both arms. Totally up to you. I mean, you can keep your right hand on your thigh for support and just bring the left arm up, and that really lengthens a little more through that left side. Or you can stay forward. You can stay supported with your hands on blocks or on your thigh. Good. And then we'll release to bring the hands back down. We're going to lift that back knee up, come into lunge. And we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. And again, final vinyasas or kriyas, totally up to you. You can come out to plank, move through for a back bend however you want. You can, if you want, stay in dog, put your knees down, rest if you choose. Good. And then, once you're ready to meet back in down dog, let yourself come on back into dog. And we're going to separate our feet a little wider, bend our knees, walk our hands back, and you come into whatever form of a squat you want here, right? You can put your elbows above your knees, just let your hips shift back a bit. You can come all the way down. So whether you like to work with your feet wider in a squat and feet turned out, you know, whether your heels come down to the floor or not, it all has to do with how you're built. So just let yourself find a release wherever you can be there. Enjoy the release in your hips and your low back. One more breath. And now we're going to slowly come on back up with the hips. So just adjust yourself to get your feet underneath your hips again. And before you come up, be aware of your toes for a second. Lift your toes up in the air and feel them spread out a little bit. You can always use your fingers to help. Your hands can help separate your toes. You can even do little toe massages there if you want. Kind of appreciate your toes for a second, how much they do for us, right? Feel your arches lifting up when your toes are lifted up like that, and the four corners of the feet easily coming into the ground. And then softly let the toes come on back to the floor and try to just let them be soft. You can put your fingers kind of on top of them a little bit just to encourage the toes to release to the floor. And then we'll bring our hands right up to our hips, press into our feet, and come on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So coming into mountain pose however you need. So if you like to shift around a little bit, do. Enjoy all the energy flowing through your body. And once you are aligned and stacked up there, just let yourself watch your breath. Let it feel really easy, almost effortless, really. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us. And shake out a little bit, move around. We're going to bring our mats into a wall. So let yourself bring the short edge of your mat into a wall. And we're going to stay. So bring everything with you. Cynthia, did he come back in and get his block and stuff? Do you know?
I don't know. I looked.
Huh.
There is someone coming in and out, and it might be Joe.
Okay. Well, it's probably the guy down the hall that you went over the tree. But, so, get a block. And let your left hand, arm, shoulder come towards the wall. So you turn to the left and put the block between your left foot and the wall. And then from here, we're going to play just a little bit. Now, how far you bring that block is up to you, because we're going to put our left foot on the block like this. And we're just going to step up on the block and point our toes. So hopefully, maybe your toes, actually your big toe at least, still stays on the floor. And then you're just going to come back down through the foot, like you just step back down. And then again, press into that foot. Let yourself point your foot a little bit there. Good. And then come on back down. Do that a few times. It won't take very long to go, oh my gosh, my quad is telling me to stop doing this. So now when you're sick of that, stay up on the block, okay? With your foot up off the floor. Flex it off the floor. And then let yourself bring your knee forward like you're stepping up a step and open that leg out into tree pose. Now, you know you can put the foot up to the inside of your calf or the inside of your thigh. Rise your left arm up the wall. And let yourself just stay, bringing your gaze to where you're comfortable now. Now that you know you're going to be here in tree for a second, find that focus. And you can bring the right arm up if you choose. You can even clasp your hands up there overhead. Send your pointer finger up, or you can keep your hands apart. You know that. And if you're like, I don't even want my arms up, you can bring your hands back down to be in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And if you're falling down, just remember, you're up 4 inches, you're up higher. So be mindful. Take your time. Feeling the foot coming into the inside of your leg. Think about the inside of your leg coming back into your foot. Good. And now, when you're ready, go ahead and bring your left hand back to the wall. Let the foot come down again, and then bend the knee behind you. We're going to reach back with our right hand and get hold of the top of the foot. Again, you can extend your left arm up if you want. You can balance right there with the knee pointing down towards the ground. Or you can send your knee back and let yourself come into dancers, thinking about the chest coming forward, pressing that foot into your hand. That's totally up to you. And then when you come back up, go ahead and let the knee come forward again. Let yourself release for a breath there. You can hold your knee if you want. And then go ahead and bring the foot on down. And we're going to turn around. Probably a lot of work going on in that left leg. Shake it out a little bit, right? And you know what's amazing is just that simply putting that right foot on that block, pressing in to straighten the leg out, and letting the foot point so the toes touch the ground. Trying to keep your hips level, and then going ahead to bend the knee and put the foot back on the floor. So you actually, it's not really just mindlessly, you're really working as you press into that foot and point the toes. I mean, you can try to do it with your hands to your heart, or you can keep your hand on the wall, right? If you do it with your hands to your heart, you realize, whoo, that's a lot of work. Sometimes the hand on the wall tricks you into thinking, that's not even no big deal, right? And when you've had enough, come on back up to that leg being up. Bring it in front of you. Flex your foot for a second. And then open into that tree pose. So again, where you put that left foot, either to the inside of your calf or your thigh. Feel that tree pose there. Bring your gaze to where is good. And again, you play with your arms wherever you want to go, right? If you like your arms up overhead, fine. If you'd rather have your hands at your heart, if you'd rather keep your hand on the wall. Remember in tree, you're feeling the foot coming into the inside of your leg, the inside of your leg coming back into your foot. And you don't want to tuck your tailbone under you. Good, nice. One more breath. And then again, as the foot comes down, you can hold on to the wall there. And from there, we're going to bend the knee, bring the foot behind us. And again, you can hold the top of the foot here if you can reach it. If not, just bend the knee and flex the foot. You're still going to get a quad stretch. Arm overhead. You can balance here if you want. You can decide you want to send the knee back and let your chest come forward and come on into a little dancer's pose there with a balance or not. Since you're on that block, if you'd rather keep your hand on the wall, by all means do. Good. And then when you're ready, bring your knee on forward, letting yourself come on back. You can hold the knee if you want, let yourself release for a breath there. And then we'll let that foot come on down. We're going to step off the block. Good. And then just move the block on out of the way. And take your time. I'm going to get a blanket because doing this pose without a blanket is really too much for me. We're going to do a little camel pose. If you know being on your knees is totally out of the picture, stay standing at the wall and let yourself come into a little camel like this so that you're not coming into the pressure down into your knees. If you're fine to be on your knees, you can come onto your knees, and whether it's a blanket or onto the floor, and see if you can be back with your toes to touch the wall. Or remember at the beginning when we curl our toes under to do our cat-cow? If you want, you can actually, especially if you have a blanket there, curl your toes under a little bit so that when you come up on your knees here, right, you can feel the wall, whether it's with the balls of your feet or your toes, or standing, right? And then from here, let your hands just come onto your low back. Turn your fingertips down towards the ground. Your palms are into each side of you here on the top of your hips. And then just think about your hips staying forward and let yourself just draw the elbows back a little bit. Think of lengthening down through the top buttock muscles, right? And I know some of you will really want to go further back. Now, some of you will want to reach back and hold on to your heels, right? If you like to do that for camel pose, I like to actually put my head on the wall and then send my hips a little more forward. That's usually enough for me. But take your time. Another fun thing to do sometimes is to put your arms up and then reach back and let your hands touch the wall so that you have that lift right at the base of your shoulder blades. But you know, this is an extreme pose. So take your time, come down and rest whenever you need to. Don't overdo. Just be mindful, let it feel really good, opening for the front of the body, not where you feel like you're stressing out. And if you can use the wall for your head, it really is very helpful. And you know, even if your hips come back a little bit, if you put your head back into the wall and then send your hips a little forward, you might not be exactly directly over your knees, but it's pretty close and it's a really nice back bend. So when you're ready, release down. Bring your forearms down to the mat, right? And even if you're still up on the blanket, it's okay. Send your hips back just a little bit. Let your back release in your hips. Good. And then we'll come onto our forearms and come on up into a dolphin pose because we're right there. And if you're like, well, I don't want that blanket there, you might have to come down, take it out before you go up. But actually coming down on the blanket's not that bad of a deal. So take your time, find your dolphin pose there. If you like walking up the wall, which a lot of you already are doing, be mindful as you do. And remember, the alignment of where you are is fine whether you have more of a, when you walk up the wall, you have more of an angle in your shoulders, or maybe you want to walk down the wall and you end up with your shoulders over your elbows, right? So that comes a little more into being ready to come into a forearm stand, but you know, really what you want to do is keep your shoulders healthy and release between the shoulder blades on the back. You're not trying to push yourself into doing something here. And move down and up whenever you want to. You know, you just rest however you need, when you need. If you do want to go up one more time, let it be now, and if you're done, let yourself be done. We are all going to slowly make our way on up to sitting with our legs around in front of us. So, you know, if a forward bend, like a classic seated forward bend with your legs out long, sounds kind of miserable because, you know, just the way you're built, use what support you need, a blanket to sit on, or even a blanket rolled up or blocks underneath your knees so you have a little bit of bend in your knees. So if you're tight in your low back and your hamstrings, just a little bit of relief there when you come forward, whether you're up higher and have something underneath your knees or just have a rolled blanket a little bit under your knees. That way when you come forward from your low back, it's a little more doable. So take your time. Once you come as far forward as feels like, okay, well, this is pretty much it. If you can let your head release and hang a little bit, do. Or at least try not to lift your chin up and tighten the back of your neck. So just take your time. Breathe. Nice, easy breaths. You know, you can hold your feet. You can do a big toe hold if you want. You can have your hands on your legs or beside you on the floor. Good. One more breath. And we're going to slowly, ever so slowly, come on back up. And now we're going to walk our feet in so that our feet are on the floor and lean back a little bit for a little boat pose. You may decide holding behind your legs here feels really good to interlace your fingers. You may want to hold your legs separately, but see if you can just float the lower legs on up. And look at your feet for a second. Look, appreciate your toes again. Kind of wiggle them around a little bit if you want. And then see if you can, when you draw your toes back to flex, press the outside of your big toe mounds a little bit together, but separate your heels a little bit. So the outside edges of your feet become more parallel. And then draw your gaze up a little now. Start to feel that uplift in your chest. It's like you're almost pulling your rib cage up and forward a little bit. And then see if you can let go of your legs from there. And if you like to play with long legs, you can hold on and play with letting your legs come longer. You can still pull the legs in towards you as you pull your chest forward too, right? You can hold wherever you want. You can hold the outside of your legs. You can reach up to your ankles or your feet or your toes, right? And let yourself, you know, obviously if that's not doable, don't worry about it. Let yourself bend your knees again and hold behind your thighs. Play where you want to play. Oh, some people are up there wanting to come into a wide angle. Go ahead if you want to. You can open your legs out to the side. You can come back up to boat from there if you want to. Just play. Take some core strength going on there. And now the best part is when you come on down, let yourself come into Badakanasana, because that's the biggest release. And when you do, if you need blocks, grab them, right? If you feel like you want, well, I want my feet out there a ways, sometimes I like my feet to be way far away and come forward a little bit there and just let my back release, let my hips release. And then I like to change how close I am with my feet towards me. So sometimes just picking myself up and coming in closer and then trying again. So you can change how far your feet are from you. And you can, try a little bit of a forward motion and then decide, well, I want to go back to a lot of space between my feet, or maybe, I want to try getting it even a little closer to my feet. So just play a little bit. And just feel that release. Remember, we're trying to let our hips release here. We're not trying to tighten them up and grip them. So just breathe. Bring your breath to where you need it. So if you feel like one hip is kind of tighter than the other, or maybe you feel this more in your back, right? You can feel the breath coming into where you need it. And how high your knees are up off the ground in this pose only has to do with how your physical structure is. So you're not trying to make your knees press down towards the ground. Good. So one more breath. Now be mindful when you start to rise on up. And you can use your hands to help your knees come on back up to the top. Stretch your legs on out in front of you. Shake out just a little bit. Move through your feet however you need to and your legs. And we're going to come on down onto our backs on the floor. So take your time. Come on down and let yourself release. Bring your feet to the floor. If you need to kind of lift your hips up a little bit, kind of straighten yourself out, or if a couple of little pelvic tilts sound good, just be mindful. Let yourself release there. And then bring your arms out beside you so they're out from your shoulders, palms up. Really let your shoulders melt down. And cross your right thigh over your left, woman cross-legged. And we're just going to let our knees drift over to the right. Now, how far you go is up to you. They may just go a couple inches and you feel a little bit in the outside of the hip there, or you might want to go lower down towards the ground. So go where you can and then just be with your breath for a couple or three more breaths. And then bring the knees back up. You're keeping the left foot where it is, and you're just going to shift your knees to the left now. So again, it's the same thing. You might want to stop yourself from going very far with your right foot on the floor or block, or you might want to continue down towards the ground with the knees. Just stay there. Let yourself feel that right shoulder releasing down towards the ground. And then come on back up again, and we're going to go right away again to the right. So let yourself just bring the knees over to the right. Maybe you can go a little further than you did the first time. Maybe it feels good. You can always turn your head a little to the left, And then come on back up and let the knees just continue over to the left. Again, you can support yourself with a block. You can go a little farther maybe. You can turn your head to look right. And then knees are going to come up. We're going to uncross our legs. Straighten your spine out. So do what you did before. If you need to lift your hips up a little, or do a couple of little pelvic tilts, or, just adjust to straighten out. And then we'll bring our left thigh on top of our right, crossing, woman cross-legged there, thigh over thigh. Knees are going to go to the left. So again, you're just going to go a little ways, and you're going to see how it feels. Let yourself just enjoy a couple of breaths there, just letting the hips feel where they are, and feel where you feel the stretch the most. And then we'll bring the knees up, and they're going to go over to the right now. So now you're just going to shift the knees to the right and let the knees come over only as far as you want. Remember, you can put a block or a blanket underneath your feet, or underneath to support your leg or your foot down there. And now we're going to rise back. We're going to go back to the first side. So once you bring the knees to the left, maybe you want to turn your head to the right this time. Maybe you want to let the knees go down more. You know, you might feel a little more through that right side waist. You might not. Don't force anything. And then rising back through center again. Knees are going to continue to the right. Again, you can turn your head to look away to the left. And you can let yourself release there. You can use support if you need it. Everybody feels these in different places, so just be really mindful. Go to where it's okay for you. Good. And then when you're ready to come up, uncross, remember, straighten your spine out. And then let yourself bring your knees in towards your chest for a second, just to release. And you can bring the feet up in the air if that feels better. You can do little, cross-country ski movements or a bicycle up there if you want. Or maybe you don't want to do any of that. Maybe you want to just let your arms and legs float up. You can kind of do that dead bug pose where the arms and legs are up in the air. And you're just letting the palms face each other, the knees be soft, and you let your shoulders and your hips release that way, just from the weight of the arms and legs coming into your sockets there, So and if that's like, well, that is so not relaxing, then don't do it. Do something else, if it feels good. You can come into anything you want right now, and you know that. Let your body be the boss of you. Let yourself. If you need a certain kind of movement, do it. If you need to come into another pose. Just take your time. I'm going to start to come around and get lights, and then I'll start to bring any kind of props anybody wants. So, if you need a bolster or a blanket, if you need a blanket for your head, if you need a blanket for cover, if you want to use the wall, don't give up, just wait till you bring it. Let me know if anything at all sounds good. Wave at me if anything sounds good. Now just appreciate feeling the ground underneath you. Letting yourself accept your breaths in and out. And just give your body time to respond to the breaths. As the breath becomes quieter, so does your body. And when you just keep coming back to your breath with your focus, so does your mind. It becomes quieter as well. So just allow yourself these few minutes giving your body and your brain time to benefit. Allowing yourself to completely and fully relax. breath becomes deeper, it really brings you back into wanting to physically move again. So fingers and toes, hands, feet. You know, if you feel good to circle your hands and feet around a little bit, do. Just take your time, stretch if you need to stretch, bring your knees on in if it feels better to you to let your back release that way. You know, you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side anytime. If that is comfortable for you to stay there, you can use your arm as a pillow or a blanket if you have it, and just rest for a little bit to give the body and the brain a little bit longer. When it feels okay to rise up to sitting, and keep your eyes closed if you can, or at least close them again once you do get up, if you feel better to open them when you're coming up. But get comfortable in how you're sitting. If you need to shift around a little bit, if you need to sit up on a blanket, grab one to sit on, and just allow yourself to be really soft through your shoulders. Feel really nice and open through your hips. Let your spine support you here, and come back to your breath. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Friday.